Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the I Am Salt Lake podcast, episode 139. Welcome to the podcast. If this is your first time listening, you can find the website, iamsaltlake.com, where you can get in touch with me there. Also, links for iTunes, Stitcher Radio. You can now find the podcast actually in TuneIn Radio. So download the app, TuneIn Radio, and search for I Am Salt Lake. You can listen to any of the episodes right there on any smartphone device. So check it out, TuneIn Radio. I want to mention the sponsors for this episode. You could check out Peach Treats at peachtreats.etsy.com. Awesome custom ear art made right here in Salt Lake City. Tiff Blue, a great individual. Check out her Etsy shop at peachtreats.etsy.com. And at checkout, enter in the coupon code I Am Salt Lake. It's all one word, I-A-M, Salt Lake. You get 20% off of your purchase as you're supporting a local artist as well as supporting the podcast. And thank you so much, Peach Treats, for sponsoring this episode. Again, you can find the Etsy site for Peach Treats right there at peachtreats.etsy.com. Type in that coupon code, I Am Salt Lake. You get 20% off your order, and you're supporting the podcast at the same time. Also, the Urban Lounge, a lot of really great shows coming up there. There's a lot of really cool free shows coming up. You're going to want to check those out at the Urban Lounge, slc.com. Follow them on Twitter and Facebook. Give them some love. Let them know you heard about them on the I Am Salt Lake podcast. If you haven't been to the Urban Lounge yet, get out, enjoy the city. You can find out all of their information at the Urban Lounge, slc.com. Like I said, Jason Harvey is on this episode of the podcast. I'm going to end the episode playing a song from Heartless Breakers. They're going to be playing Crucial Fest. That's coming up June 4th through 7th. Crucial Fest 4. A lot of really great bands going to be playing there. I'm going to be talking to some of those bands here in the upcoming episodes of the podcast. So you're going to want to make sure to stay tuned. Subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher Radio, however you listen to podcasts. Go to the website, crucialfest.com. I Am Salt Lake Podcast is actually helping sponsor this event. So give them some love. Buy your wristbands early. A lot of really great bands going to be playing there. Like I mentioned, Heartless Breakers are playing Crucial Fest. I'm going to end this episode playing a Heartless Breakers song. Also, I got some other information I want to share with you guys near the end of the podcast. So stay tuned. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. Follow me on Twitter. I Am Salt Lake. Let me know if you want to come on the podcast, actually. I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to hear what you love about Salt Lake. Join me now as I talk to Jason Harvey, local stand-up comedian, as he came over to my apartment here in downtown Salt Lake City, Utah. Jason Harvey, sitting down with Jason Harvey, local stand-up comedian from Salt Lake City. Do you label yourself as a stand-up comedian?
I feel weird about it sometimes. I don't. How I go about saying it is that I perform stand-up comedy instead of saying I'm a stand-up comedian. I'm like, yeah, I do stand-up. Well,
I want to get into that and kind of find out how you got there. But I want to find out a little bit, kind of your back history, where you grew up. Did you grow up here in Salt Lake, or
not in Salt Lake?
Where are you from?
I'm originally from Morgan, Utah, so just east of Ogden, Morgan County.
And how long did you live there for?
All the way until I was 19 and went on a mission.
On a LDS mission.
Yes.
Yeah, where'd you go on a mission to?
I went to Tucson, Arizona, and it included like El Paso, Texas, and parts of New Mexico in it too. It was a pretty big geographical mission.
So you grew up good Mormon family,
really
right
good Mormon family
in
Morgan, Utah.
Yeah, and you went on was it a pretty good experience?
Yeah, it was.
How was that for you? Did you learn a lot?
Yeah, I learned a lot, and it was kind of like it's almost like a rite of passage thing, or like a vision quest type of thing to like a Native American. It's that like becoming a man thing is almost the way that it was one of those things that you just did.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Well, see, I went on a mission.
I grew up Mormon, but I left the Mormon church before the mission age. And I was always looking forward to it. It's like, oh, I'll get sent to China or Australia or somewhere really cool. And learn a language or something like that. And I mean, were you kind of bummed out that you didn't go to a foreign country, that you didn't get a calling to a foreign country?
It was weird at first when I read Tucson, Arizona, because my first thought was like, I think I've been there.
Yeah.
Like I've possibly been there.
And I don't know if I've ever been there. I mean,
it's honestly a really cool city. I like it.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a city. Like it's similar, I guess, size to Salt Lake, except the downtown area is not anywhere near. I think they had like 3.
But being a missionary, you didn't really get experience like the nightlife. The U of A,
yeah. I mean, they have like the U of A campus is there. There's a really cool place in Tucson too. Old Tucson is what it's called. It was where a bunch of Western movies are still made there. But John Wayne owned this place and they would film Western movies there. Tombstone, I think, was shot there. The Three Amigos was
some good landscape, good scenery down there.
Yeah,
have you had a chance to go back?
Just once. It was right when I got back, and it was when The Used was their first album and it just come out, and they were really popular. And a couple of my friends really liked them, and they were like, let's go and buy tickets. We'll go to Tucson because you know people there. We can like stay with people in Tucson. And then one of our friends had aunt, I think, that lived in Albuquerque. So we went down to Tucson, saw The Used, and then drove out the next day and saw The Used.
How far of a drive is that from Salt Lake?
I think 14 hours. It's
14 hours to go see The Used.
Yeah.
I mean,
like a band that could have.
You must have really loved them, right?
Well, it was like I had been home maybe 5 months, so it was kind of like, yeah, let's go back and
road trip, right?
Yeah, I'd like to go back and see a bunch of the people that I knew and not be a missionary, so we can go and do cooler things. One of the cool things about seeing The Used is that I got to see Coheed and Cambria twice on their second stage Turbulent tour, and it was cool to see them, and everybody hated them at that time.
Well, it sounds like we have some similar musical
probably.
interests and taste. Do you come from a big family? Do you have brothers and sisters? Or?
I have 2 older sisters and then 1 younger sister. I'm the only boy in my family besides my dad.
Besides your dad, yeah. I mean, how was that growing up? I mean, just you guys close or?
Not really. I mean, my dad and I guess, are kind of similar in the fact that I don't know his side of the family very well at all. But I mean, we would see each other maybe once a year around Christmas. We'd have a Christmas party after Christmas. It was let's all get together on the 28th of December and celebrate.
It makes
Christmas.
it easier.
And it makes it way easier.
My family does the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let's not get together. Christmas Day, you run around to 15 different houses.
Way too many people.
Let's get together. And
it was usually the following Saturday after Christmas or something like that, where things had kind of slowed down a bit. But that was about it. And I mean, we would see my grandma and grandpa once or twice a year.
And are they all here in Utah?
No, my dad's originally from Idaho. And so they lived in Idaho. My grandma just barely passed away earlier this year. She was living up in Washington at that time though. So what, from Morgan, Utah, what brought you to Salt Lake? I mean, how long ago did you come to Salt Lake City then? I came to Salt Lake City it was about 2006 actually.
So quite a few years ago.
Yeah, it was when my son was born actually, is when I moved down here to Salt Lake, and then about a year after that his mom and I got married, and so we lived down here, and then when we got divorced I moved back up to Roy with one of my friends where I had lived.
That's a rough town.
Yeah.
I lived in Roy for a minute.
Did you?
Yeah. Just a minute. A friend had a room up. I don't really remember much except hating it. And I had a job in Salt Lake, so I would do that commute from Roy to Salt Lake. Oh, yes, that is awful.
Yeah, if you have to commute, it's bad.
It's just horrible. I mean, Roy.
Did you ever eat at the 5-star Chinese restaurant?
I don't really remember a lot of food I ate up there.
Okay.
I mean, that was many, many years ago. So, were you doing stand-up comedy before you came to Salt Lake, or talk about what got you interested in doing some stand-up? I mean,
I've always liked comedy, but I've always been more of a sketch comedy fan. I loved Saturday Night Live growing up. Still a big.
You still watch Saturday Night Live?
No,
it's kind of gone downhill a little bit.
I need to watch. I guess Louis C.K. hosted last night.
Okay.
And so I'd like to see that because the first time he hosted, there were some really funny sketches that he did. But
he's a brilliant comedian.
He's so funny. And I guess his monologue's supposed to be really good from yesterday's show. But I just love Will Ferrell, love improv and sketch comedy. Never really thought about doing stand-up until I had been working in retail so long and just done face-to-face interaction with people and had a couple people tell me that I should, hey, have you ever thought about it? I'm like, yeah, I've thought about it, but it's never been really something that I'm like, oh, I'll do. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. One of my bosses, I was still married at the time, and one of my bosses told me, you should give it a shot. So I remember going and telling my ex-wife, hey, I think I'm gonna start writing some stuff down for comedy. I think I'm gonna give stand-up comedy a shot. And she just said, I don't think you should. You're not very funny.
Well, women would do that to us for men, and you're not very funny. Well, there's a slap in the face, right?
That's not what everybody's been telling me, but that's all right.
Yeah. So where did you do? Yeah, you did an open mic, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. So what happened is after that, right after she told me that, we separated a month after that.
Because of that.
Well, I would like to. Yeah, you're not going to support me in my dreams. I'm out of here.
Yeah. It's like, why did you separate? Well, she didn't think I was funny.
Yeah. After laughing a lot. So I just knew she was a liar.
Yeah.
That's how I found out.
Yeah.
So we separated, and that just kind of took me to a completely awful place where it was I can't be funny for a while, but I still kept writing. And it was about 9 months after that I had just been watching one of my friends who was very talented kind of waste his potential by not just doing. He was an excellent writer, and he just wouldn't write, novelist. He'd come up with these great stories and he'd tell me about them, and I'm like, oh, well, write that. I'd like to read that.
But don't you think going to some of those dark places in our life help us write some of the most
absolutely
brilliant, best pieces of work that you might have ever created in your entire life?
Absolutely.
Even being a stand-up comedian, I'm sure you really find out their stories and their struggles with, depression or anxiety and social phobias and all of that.
I think there's a big, very big common denominator with stand-up comedy and mental health.
Yeah, issues. Absolutely.
It's
because laughter is the best medicine.
And you don't see the world. I still remember talking to. I had been doing stand-up at this point. It was my ex-girlfriend of a year and a half ago, talking to her about depression. And she had told me well, yeah, I've felt depressed, and you just have to brush it off and do something. And it's just I don't know if you've really felt depression, because it's crippling. I'm not leaving this apartment maybe again. I might just curl up on this couch and never leave again. And I'm better off this way. And so I had to tell her, I remember trying to explain to her, I love being with you. You make me so happy, but still there's times that I just don't even want to be around anymore. It's not even that.
And it's hard to explain until you've been there.
I don't get how to tell you this, because it's not necessarily, it's not even sadness sometimes. It's just I feel absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to feel this way, then it's just, why be around? And so that's just something that I've dealt with. I remember telling my mom, it was a Sunday after church. I remember sitting at the dinner table while the awesome Mormon Sunday meal was being prepared, and just waiting. And I just remember telling her, I don't know why, but I'm just really sad. And I was probably 13 or 14.
And you can't pinpoint it, but you don't know.
There's no reason for this. I've thought about it. There's no reason I should be sad, but I am. It doesn't make any sense, but this is what I feel.
Do you feel writing in comedy has helped?
Absolutely.
With that?
Oh yeah. I feel, because I've even gone to when my ex and I separated the first time, it really was just this my whole world just shook. And we separated for a month and a half, then got back together for about a year, and then it was just let's not do this anymore. but I started going to actual therapist, and that was awesome. Like I'd always been scared to just like talk about how I feel, because it was just like, people are going to think I'm crazy because I don't know.
But it's one of the best things you can do. Oh man,
it was such a good, it just felt amazing to just let it out. And that's kind of what I do now. Like I don't go to a therapist anymore. I do stand up, and it just helps me be, I think, a bit more creative, and there's still that outlet. I'm getting those feelings out, and I feel better about just being like, okay, that's out. Like at least it's out there now.
So back to the first time that you did a open mic. I mean, did you know at that moment, this is something I want to continue, or was it like, okay, that was a fun experience, and then maybe it was a few months later you tried it again? Or, I mean, talk about that experience a little bit.
It was, the first I did open mic at Wise Guys.
I mean, back when you did it, were there other? I know there's a handful of others around Salt Lake, but was that pretty much the only place to go at that time?
That, as far as I knew, I mean, and I remember because I had to like get on the internet and like look around, like, well, how do you even do this? Because I didn't know. I don't even think
Facebook was around probably really much back then, right?
Not for as far as you didn't have the groups, or it wasn't set up as far as. Like I had a Facebook page, but it didn't help with
like networking,
comedy, networking or anything like that. It was still just kind of new, and even MySpace that's like right when MySpace was starting to die off.
You're like, but nobody's here anymore. It's time to leave MySpace.
Yeah. Right? And so, like, I just had to look up, and I knew Wise Guys was a comedy club, and I was living up in Roy at the time. And so I went out to the Ogden. I just drove out to the Ogden Wise Guys location and just looked, and it was closed, but I just like looked and went like, okay, they're open on weekends. And then I just went to their website and was like, oh, they have an open mic on Wednesday. And I told my friend, hey, we're going down. I'm going to pay for you to get in. We're going to go down this Wednesday, and we're just going to watch the open mic. I just want to see what it is, because I don't know. And so we went and we watched it, and
was that out of West Valley?
No,
or was
it was still Trolley Square. I think Trolley Square had maybe been open like 2 or 3 months. It was it. And so we went and we watched it, and it was fun. Like it was a really, really cool night.
A lot of people there.
There was a good energy about it. Like all of the comics, you could tell were just having a lot of fun. They were quick. Jokes were like, everybody had like really good sets, and it just was really encouraging. Like, awesome. Yeah, I think I can do this. And so I came out the next week, and I had been writing probably about 9 months. So I had a few jokes that I knew, like, okay, I can tell, like, we can do this. And I had an all right set. Like the first time I went up, got some laughs and felt good about it. Like,
pretty good response.
Yeah. It was like, but I invited like everybody I knew out. And so I had about like 15 people that were there to just see me. And so it was very cool to have that support, like right off, that people were like, oh no, we'll go see him. Like, let's see this. And I don't know, maybe they were there to just, this could be a train wreck. Like, let's go see,
Does it make you nervous when people are in the audience more that you know than versus not knowing? Like, to me, it seemed like it would be easier if I was getting up behind a microphone and I'd be like, I don't really know anybody out there. I don't have family out there.
Yeah, I think at first it was, I liked to have people out there because it was just like, those are my friends and they've got my back. Yeah, they're here to support me regardless of if they think I'm funny, they're at least here for it. And now it's like, I don't really like performing for people that I'm really like, my son's stepdad came out to my last show. First time that in like the 4 years that I've known him that he's actually come out, and he had a good time, and it was cool. But that made me nervous that he was there, because it's like, oh, if I don't do it, like they're going to think I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
If, do you know what he's?
Did he laugh?
Yeah, he loved it. Yeah, he was like very supportive.
So you were like,
so
I'm
cool.
I'm funny, guys.
Yeah, it was and so
thought I wasn't funny.
And they've always been really supportive. Yeah, they've always been really supportive about like if I have a show. As far as like my son's always right there. Like I can. Like,
and how old is your son now?
He's 7 now.
Oh wow,
he's almost 8.
Yeah.
And but he even loves that that I'm doing comedy, and
kind
I think
proud of you a little bit.
Yeah, well, and he's so good at drawing, and so it's like he's very artistic that way. His stepdad's a really good musician, and so like
he's getting creativity in his life and that art,
and nobody's killing his imagination.
That's
what's so cool to to see with my son. But yeah, as far as like my best friend of like we've been friends like over 10 years now. Like we were old roommates and have been close, really close since then. He doesn't like coming out to my comedy shows because he's like, you're funnier in person to me, like when we're just hanging out. So it's really weird for me to like watch you do stuff that you've written because I know how funny you are, just like spur of the moment.
Yeah.
And
do you find though, like people expect you to always be the funny guy when you're out and about? You know what I mean? Like, do they say, oh, well, Jason Harvey, he's the funny guy. And then, you know, back to the days, the dark days or something, they don't expect that out of you. They're like, well, why aren't you being funny right now?
Yeah.
Why aren't you cracking jokes?
I think it's, for the most part, I keep that, like that.
Yeah.
My best friends know about like all of the like darker things.
But what I mean is like, you know how some days you just have a blah day.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're like, I just don't feel funny today.
I had one of those, like I was tired and, I had actually just done a show and it was like, yeah, I made like a little bit of money. So I was putting it in my checking account, like at the bank. And, the lady's like, oh, just small talk. And like, what did you do yesterday? And I was like, I run a monthly comedy show, at Five Monkeys. And so like, yeah, I did that. And she's like, oh, well, do you want to tell me tell me a joke? And she's like, it's
just like a spur of the moment. You're supposed to come up with something funny.
I was like, I really don't have anything that I can just like throw out. I was like, it's all kind of a big setup for, I was like, it's not just setup punchline, like just a joke that you would tell your friend. It's kind of a story.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're all kind of getting longer as I've been doing it. And so then I was just like, as I kept going, I'm like, I really just showed you how funny I am. Come to one of my shows. Like, this is awful that
carry flyers with you.
Like
here,
just
take a flyer.
Yeah, here, come see me be funny. Like I'm not right now.
Yeah.
Just like I'm really tired. I'm just want to get out of here and on with my day. But
yeah. Well, let's talk about actually bringing that up. You do a monthly show at Five Monkeys. That's every month, right?
Every month, yeah. This month is a little different because we have
in this month being April.
We have Seattle like a group of Seattle comedians coming on April 10th to Five Monkeys. They're just on a road trip tour, and so they're coming through there. The guy, I believe it's Derek Sheen. He's opened up for Patton Oswalt.
Oh, nice.
Brian Posehn. So a lot of really cool comedians, and he's coming through. It's going to be a really cool show.
What day is it?
Thursday, April 10th.
And is it the same? Your monthly ones, is that the same because I know they're on Thursdays.
They're on Thursday. My monthly shows will be the third Thursday of every month at Five Monkeys. And then the reason this is kind of changing this month is because Brian Pope is coming back from New York on the 18th, so he'll be
a great show.
Friday. It's gonna be awesome. Like I'm hosting that show, and Rick Knight, and Andre McSween, who's really funny. I've been able to do a couple shows with him as he's come out here a few times. Really cool guy.
So the Five Monkey shows aren't always just local comedians.
No,
they're traveling comedians as well.
Yeah, last month, and it just kind of started last month, because I know Barbara Gray, who's great. She's been on the podcast before. Yeah. Someone was coming out here to just visit Utah, and she told him to get in contact with me. So he did my show last month, but he was on Jimmy Kimmel. Like he's a really up and coming comedian named Mateen Stewart, a really funny guy. And then there was also a comedian from Denver who just happened to be out here, Eric Lidstrom, and really funny guy too. And it was a cool show.
How are those Five Monkey shows? I mean, a lot of people come out. I mean, it seems like a nice venue.
It's a really cool venue because the stage is set away from the whole rest of the bar. So there's pool tables on the complete opposite side of the bar, but you're almost like around a corner from it. So you don't hear pool tables. You don't hear people talking. There's still the TVs and sports going on in the other room. Yeah, you just don't have the distraction that a lot of bar venues you get at some bar venues.
And how can people? Is there a website for your events, or is it Facebook?
Yeah, there's a Facebook page. It's just facebook.com/comedy and other opinions.
Okay. And I always try to get the links on the show notes so people listening and throw that out there. I'm sure, even follow you on Facebook, probably keep up.
Yeah, just add me as a friend on Facebook.
On the events. But what do you think of, compared to when you started comedy, how the comedy scene has evolved in Salt Lake now? What are your thoughts on the local Salt Lake comedy scene?
It's grown a lot. Yeah. There's a lot of comedians here now where there wasn't as many like 4.5 years ago
that were coming out to the shows, or
regularly, that would come out and do open mics, actually perform, that were actually going for it. They were writing and working hard, shaping jokes, and then going to open mics and really working on bits. There's so many more people doing that now. And not only that, but as soon as the Complex they stopped doing open mics at the Complex, it really kind of was a kick in the butt to a lot of comedians here to just, we've got to do something. So then Johnny Brandon went and started Moe's again. So now Tuesday night at the new Moe's location at 7:30.
I just went to the one last Tuesday for the first time.
And
that's a great place. It was packed. I couldn't find a seat. I was like, holy hell, what is going on? It's
just a cool, welcoming open mic, and it's fun. Like I was very impressed.
Free. I mean, it's free. So it's like, hell, you can't beat that,
Yeah,
or at least I thought it was free. I don't know.
It's free.
Was I supposed to pay?
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's free. Open mic should be free because it's. I heard Levi on the podcast talk about it as band practice. I think when you're trying to be funny at open mics, but I think if you're just trying to be funny instead of getting the right joke, you miss the whole point of open mic. Like, it's okay to not be funny at open mic because as long as you learn something, maybe you learned that joke wasn't funny, or maybe you learned, I've got to take this in a different route or use this as a different punchline. Or what if it was just a wrong crowd? Exactly. There's so many different things that shape comedy. Because at the Complex, sometimes you would have, it was a very hot and cold crowd sometimes at the Complex, where one comedian would do really well, but then it was like starting from scratch the second the next guy got on stage. It was just like they weren't warmed up to this person yet. And so that person could have a rough set even though they were being funny. And it's just like, you've seen them do that set several times before, and you know how funny it is. It's very well written, but for some reason it just didn't hit that night.
So how often do you get out to other open mics? Do you get out very often?
I used to be way better at it. My job, I've been working a lot more at nights, so I haven't been able to get out.
Damn jobs.
Bills.
Yeah. Being an adult is hard,
it
right?
sucks. But I still...
What are some other local open mic nights in Salt Lake that you would recommend?
I know that they do one at the Paper Moon on Thursdays, like at 10 o'clock. So it's a later open mic. So that's just one that you could probably anybody could get to as long as they...
And what night of the week is that? Thursday nights.
Yeah.
It's
at Paper Moon, just on State Street. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good bar. It's tough to find a lady for myself there, you know, but
they just started doing this LOL at and
talk about that. I've seen that on Facebook.
I just went and did
What's
it.
That all about?
I went and did that show Thursday. So they record it and they air it on Comcast.
Okay.
On like the Utah channel on Comcast. And I think there's a couple other channels that might play it. I wish I knew all the details, but it was a cool show though. Like the stage was cool. It was definitely it was an open mic. It was comedians out there watching other comedians and performing, but it was fun. I mean, I got to do 6 minutes. It was recorded. It's supposed to air probably next week or this week, possibly, with the podcast sometime in April.
Yeah, it'll
air.
April.
Yeah.
And I mean, do you think that will be available to watch online versus YouTube, if you don't have Comcast?
Yes,
YouTube or
there
something
is a
like
YouTube link. And I think if you just, Cece has a page for the LOL at. If she doesn't, I will tell her to get one because then
I want to check it out. I don't get Comcast. So
yeah, and I know they do it there is a YouTube link, and it's, if you have Comcast, I think it's on demand also. You can watch it on demand. So
besides comedy, I mean, do you have other things like do you have any other hobbies and interests, things about Jason, musical instruments?
I used to actually play in bands.
Okay. What bands were you playing?
I played in a band called Greta that was just
from Salt Lake.
No, Roy. We were playing.
Roy? Big Roy, tough.
Yeah, tough.
Mean streets of Roy.
Yeah, real rough. It was just a punk band with two of my.
You said you played guitar,
friends.
right? Yeah,
I played guitar and sang in that band, and then all throughout high school I played bass in a band for about 4 years. I mean, that was in the 90s, so you had to spell the name all weird. So we were Shade with a Y in there, like SHAYD. I believe there could have been an E at the end of it. But I played bass and guitar. You ever think about playing music again? Yeah, I honestly love it. I like love concerts. More than comedy? No, comedy is something that just so fulfilling in so many different ways, because it's me being able to like play with my own thoughts and be myself. And like, I don't have to rely on somebody else to be there. Like, that's one of the things that was hard about playing in a band, is setting up band practices. And hey, we've all got to be here at this time. We're going to play from this time to this time. Because if you want to be successful, you have to practice quite a bit. You've got to be very committed to it. And so if certain, it takes everybody being really committed to a band for that band to be successful, and committed for quite a long time. Because and as a group to be committed versus doing your own comedy, where it's like just you. I can sit. I mean, and there's the people that will just sit around and play on the guitar, and they'll just pull in musicians when they want to, like, hey, I'm going to record an album. Yeah. And I wish I could do that. I really enjoy just playing, like, in a room with people. It doesn't matter if we're actually writing something, if it's just making noise or whatever it is. I really like. What about like acoustic guitar or something like that? Just doing some solo stuff. And I'm just not I love acoustic guitar when other people are playing. But not yourself. I just have never, it just doesn't sound as good to me as when I really like electric guitar. I like noise. I like feedback, effects. Yeah. So Salt Lake City, I'm always talking about, obviously this is, Salt Lake City podcast, and I try to ask multiple questions, hey, what do you like about Salt Lake? Like, do you have any favorite local eating spots? I like to talk about, recommendations or any new places that Jason's tried. I love, we talked a little bit about, Philly cheesesteaks. Well, yeah. There's, Joni's Deli. Have you ever ate at Joni's Deli? Delicious sandwiches down there. It's so amazing. That's one of my favorite places, because both the chicken and the cheesesteak is really good. I also like the French onion steak sandwich from Red Rock a lot. What about do you have any favorite dive bars? Do you get out much to dive bars at all? I'm not really a dive. I'm just not a bar. You're not a bar person, unfortunately. I live in Cottonwood. Okay. So it's just not really, maybe I'm just not looking for them. Yeah. But, always people moving here, places to honestly, check out or try places out. That I really like, though. I've always liked Bert's Tiki Lounge. Every time I've gone there for concerts or anything, I've always had a very good time. Like, just Bar Deluxe, I really like a lot. As far as concerts and everything goes, I really love the Urban Lounge a lot. Well, yeah, I think they're one of the best for music. Oh, absolutely. In the area, because there's not a bad spot in the venue. And they're inside there, no matter where you're standing, really, unless you're in front of a tall person or behind a tall person. Almost everybody for me is a tall person. But sit down, friendly bar staff. I mean, it's got a great outdoors place. Just a really, I like that place a lot. Yeah, I've never had I've never been on I've done comedy shows there a few times too. Urban Lounge does comedy shows. Well, they did, huh? One of my friends, who plays in Afro Omega, set up comedy shows there. Really? Because he just knew the people, and so he would set up. It was on Sundays. When I wish they just would had do like some more. Yeah. They just had a free time, 7 to 9, and so we found out, hey, they've got a free time. I'm going to book that, and so he booked it, and he came out and saw me do. How we met is he saw me do comedy at Wise Guys, and was just like, I like that guy. I want to do shows with that guy, and so we just started doing comedy shows, and I think we did 2 shows there. We did 1 show at Bar Deluxe. But Urban was really great to us. And And I just barely saw big business there, and that was amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, do you have any other favorite things about Salt Lake, like what you love about the city or anything like that?
Honestly, the mountains on the east side is one of the most like soothing sights to me. It's just, I don't know why I love those mountains. Just.
Are you an outdoorsy person?
No, I'm not. I don't want to climb them. I just want to look at them from a distance and go, they look amazing.
So you're not a big hiker, mountain biker, kayaker?
No. I grew up in a small town, and so it's just like, I enjoy camping, but I don't necessarily like, let's just go climb a hill.
Yeah, yeah. So back to your comedy. I mean, where would you like to see it take you? I mean, are you just kind of enjoying the ride right now? Do you have like any end goals?
Really love movies also. Okay. I want to actually write movies. I'm in a sketch group with two other local comedians here, Manuel Rodriguez and Michael Eccleston, called Glass-Eyed Dog.
Oh, nice.
And
what do you got? You guys just
do like little dumb internet sketches, just a few minutes each.
Just on the internet.
On the
you've
internet.
Never done anything here locally.
It's just all been. I mean, we've filmed.
Yeah.
It's either been in one of our houses or we filmed once at the complex. I think those are the only places that we've filmed, but we want to actually start talking to other places and get out and film, because Salt Lake has a really beautiful look to the city.
It does.
The downtown area, the Capitol is amazing. The scenery itself is beautiful, especially spring's coming now. It's starting to get green.
Well, I thought it was spring, and then it gets cold and then warm again, and
it's going to snow and then melt and then snow again.
Yeah. Well, that's Utah weather for you. So you're doing some sketch stuff. Yeah. Did you go to school for filmmaking?
No, I didn't even. I went to college for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well,
I hate this. Like everything about this. Like
it is.
This guy, I took an English class, and then he was at Weber State. He was a political advisor to the White House at the time. This is when Bush was in office, and he hated him. So that's
all I didn't talk about.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm totally on board. Yeah, that I don't like him either, but. Can we talk about how I'm supposed to write this paper? Like, what am I supposed to do? I haven't been in school for so long, and you're just telling me to read these two short stories
and then come up with something. And I have to learn about it through watching a YouTube video that I could do without paying for your school. I had a similar experience in the English class myself, where it drove
me crazy, because I hate that a piece of paper is. That guy's smart. You see that degree he has on his wall? Like, there's so many people I know that have just.
It seems like it's just so important, though.
Yeah,
it really is.
For some reason, I don't know why, but I
think if people go to school, I wish it could go back to like, okay, this is what I want to do. So you focus just on those classes.
Yeah.
Like why do I have to take a PE class? Why do I have to take some of the classes are worthless for a degree.
Absolutely.
Or you would think you would have to take more classes for a certain degree.
Yeah.
And
we need you to be a well-rounded. We just want you to be a well-rounded. And
there are, it's good to know how to write a paper.
Absolutely.
I guess.
Well, and honestly, being able to like compose something correctly it helps out a lot. That's the one thing that's kind of a regret of mine, is that I don't have a formal education as far as writing goes. I just do it. I'm just going to write.
But that's how some of the most creative people out there are, is they just let their brain open up and it just spew onto the paper.
Well, that's, I think that's the way to be a writer, honestly, is you can have people tell you how to do it, but you're not writing it.
The rules of writing, it's like, come on, there's no rules.
No, just write.
Yeah.
And that's, I think.
Do you journal and stuff?
No, I need to. I used to.
Yeah.
And I think if I got back to that, where it was not even, now it's mainly I write to be funny, or I'll write ideas for like screenplays that I have or sketches that I have. Like, just write down jot down some ideas, or it's stand up. It's like a monologue type.
You ever thought about writing a book or anything?
I have.
Oh, you've written a book?
No, I haven't written. I have an idea for a book, and I started writing it, and it would just be a compilation of short stories, and it would be called Chicken Soup for Your Bong.
chicken soup for your bong.
For your bong, yeah. And
I
it would
like
just be
Well, you already got. I bought a copy. I haven't even written.
It would just be a compilation of short stories of like all the times that I've been like stoned and something awful happened, and it was just like, oh shit, this is awful. Well, like the only story I've ever written was like years ago when I first moved to Salt Lake. I was living in 74th and State, and I was smoking out on my balcony, and my roommate, who's like my best friend at the time, was cooking. He grilling steaks outside on the patio, and then he had a bunch of like stuff cooking on the stovetop. Well, he came outside to smoke a cigarette, and he shut the sliding glass door, and that safety lock thing just fell down and locked us out on the balcony.
Oh shit!
But I had just barely bought like a bunch of weed, and so we had it broken up on the table, and because we had it broken up on the table, we had our privacy lock locked, so we couldn't even. We were on the 3rd floor, so even if we could get down, we couldn't get into our apartment because there's no lock on the outside for that. You have to be inside to unlock that lock. So we're like, well, we can't even call the cops. And then we'd look and our cell phones are on the table. We're like, this is like a stupid TV show. We've got like food cooking. Like we've got to get in the apartment somehow. And so I had just barely like smoked, and I was just sitting out there, and I was in socks, no shoes. I had to climb over the balcony on my 3rd floor apartment and walk across like the small brickway to where my room was. So my friend has just like a death grip on my arm as I'm just like just toes pretty much on this this brick ledge to get to where my window was cracked a bit. So I had to punch my screen out, pull it through, and climb in through the window. And it was just such a weird, dumb situation to be in. But yeah.
And so you got a ton of stories more.
Yeah, I've got a few. When it started, cause like I used to just be ridiculous. Like
smoke a lot.
Smoke too much,
been there, done that.
And, I would tell one of my friends, hey man, like, so the other day, like I was stoned, and he's like, dude, have you ever noticed, Jay, that every single one of your stories pretty much starts out that way? And it's just like, it's cause I'm pretty much always stoned, man. And he's like, yeah, well, so that's kind of where the idea for that whole story or for the book was, I guess I could write a book of short stories of all of the stupid stoner stories I
think
have.
You should do it, man. Write the book. I mean, it's easy to publish it yourself these days, or maybe you're doing it.
Yeah, I have. I think I've got probably like 28 or 29 pages written in it, but they still definitely need to be edited down. So I probably have about 11 pages of
it's
workable.
A start.
Exactly.
It's a start.
Well, and it can be even if it's 30, 40 page book, that's still enough, right?
Yeah. Well, I think so.
Still published.
Have you had a chance to perform comedy outside of Utah at
all? Just in Elko, Nevada, and I think was it Blackfoot, Idaho.
How was that for you? How were those places?
Elko was great. One of my favorite comedians, local comedians that just barely moved away, right before the Comedy Carnival, Dean Weber and I were on the show, and he had a way different energy than I have. And so it was pretty contrasting, me coming up after like him being on stage. It took me about 5 minutes for them to warm up to me, but then I did about another 20 minutes that were really, really good. And so Elko was a lot of fun. Idaho was it was just a really weird show. Like I felt sick before going there. So I just had like a headache, and I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go. It went all right. Yeah, it went all right.
You thought about going back, or is just that damn job getting in the way again?
I would definitely go back. You know, my job actually, I work at Hot Topic at the Southtown Mall right now, and they're honestly really cool about giving me time off for comedy and still pursuing.
That's great. That's great. That's great.
They're really supportive.
It's tough to find a decent job.
Absolutely.
These days, in this economy.
Yeah, economy. That's what. Yeah, like it. Ever since 2008.
Yeah. So let's run down the list before we close out here. Again, you got a couple of shows coming up that you're doing at Five Monkeys.
Yes.
And what are the days of those? Again?
April 10th is going to be that the Seattle comedians coming through. April 10th at Five Monkeys. April 18th, there's the Brian Pope show. He's coming back in. Please come out to that show. It's going to be awesome. He's been gone pretty much
it's been a
going to be
while.
7 months at that time. So it'd be cool to see what new material he's developed and how he's grown as a comedian.
How that
being
big
out there.
city
Absolutely.
life has,
helped
him.
He just has the opportunity out there to work with so many different. He gets to see so many different comedians out there because there's so many
in New York.
Yeah. And then April 12th, I'm doing Awkward Fest.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So,
Brian Staker. Yeah.
Yeah, I did it last year. It was a lot of fun.
A bunch
last
of comedians
year I just told stories.
are going to be on that event.
Yeah, it'll be
doing
cool.
Some stand up.
And then
where's that at? Where's Awkward Fest?
I don't know off the top of my head. I think he may be doing it at the Complex again, but I
know he did it last year.
Last year it was the Complex.
I want to say, I don't know. If I find out, I'll post them on the I Am Salt Lake Twitter, Facebook, or the website. He's a great guy. You know? I mean, he's awesome. He's been supportive of all the different stuff in the in the art scene, comedy scene.
Just the whole valley too. He really music too. Like, I mean, he knows quite a bit of the. I think he even plays.
Yeah, he plays music. In some band, and I think they're playing the Awkward Fest.
Yeah, they played last year too, and I wish I would have been able to see it.
Really quickly, before I do close out with you, and then where would you recommend? Let's say somebody's listening and they wanted to get into doing some stand up. What open mic would you recommend, or is that kind of a tough call to say? Like the first, just go try this one. It's a little less intimidating, maybe.
See, and Wise Guys has its benefits to start off at Wise Guys because they'll always have people there to watch.
Yeah.
Like they always have a crowd there to support the comedians, and that's good because it's hard to know when you're starting off. It's hard to know what's funny because you think it's funny, but you don't know if it's gonna like actually come across funny to everybody else. Is it generally funny?
So Wise Guys, you think
Wise Guys is a good place to start? Yeah, I think Moe's is a great place right now though too because it's very welcoming. There's always a crowd there.
I wanted to get up when I was like, oh shoot, I should get up here and do some stand-up comedy, right?
Yeah, I really like Moe's right now. You hit up any of those two places.
Do you feel like a person can be too old to start stand-up comedy?
No.
You always hear these stories. Oh, I started when I was 18 and now I'm, touring the world.
Yeah. See, and I wish, everybody, I wish I would have started younger, but
it's better to start too late than never at all.
Absolutely. Do what you have as far as I know, you have one life. Yeah. That's it. And that's what I'm focusing on is I want to do these things. There's certain things that I want to do, whether I'm successful in the financially at doing them or not. I like being funny. Like I like telling jokes. I like making people laugh. That's what really draws me to comedy is you almost force a response for people. They're just listening to you and something you do makes them react that way. It's an incredible, I'm sure reflexive. It's such a cool thing.
It's just a cool experience, So how can people find you online? You're on Twitter,
Twitter,
Facebook. How can people find you?
On Twitter, it's just at Jason_Harvey. Facebook, just facebook.com.
Jason Harvey. Search for Jason Harvey.
Yeah, if you just type in Jason Harvey, you should be able to find me there. I believe I don't know what my Facebook thing is. I think it's comedian Jason Harvey.
How dare you?
Or Jason Harvey Comedy. It might be, facebook.com /Jason Harvey Comedy.
And what about Instagram? Do you get into Instagram?
I am on Instagram, at JHarv, so JAYHARV.
And can anybody follow you? Absolutely.
I'm not
any other social
anybody.
Media outlets that you use, or those kind of
Those are pretty much it. Yeah. Twitter's my favorite. I really enjoy Twitter.
I love Twitter.
It's fun. I've actually just started to get back writing more regularly on Twitter.
I think it's great for comedians to kind of fit that joke into that 140 characters.
Exactly. And a way of forcing yourself to write very concise.
Yeah. You have a website or anything or no?
No, I need to. No, there needs to be. Also, I guess YouTube.com /GlassEyeDog.
For the sketch
group.
Yeah.
And that's just GLASSEYEDOG. And then I am youtube.com /JHarvey as an asshole.
And what do you have? Just some of your
there's
own
some stand-up. Yeah, there's some stand-up clips there. I think I have a 20-minute set that I did at Five Monkeys a couple of years ago, and then just a few smaller sets that I've done.
I'll have to check out the YouTube site. I don't know if I've had an opportunity to check it out myself. But anything else you want to add before we close out? I seriously appreciate you taking some time out of your day to sit down and chat with me. I mean, I've had a blast talking.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add before we close up here?
Thank you a lot. This has been great. Thanks to all of the listeners that support this great podcast. Keep listening, and then keep going out and doing stuff like not in your house. Get out and see shows. Support local bands, support local comedians, support local theater companies. Just support local, and turn off Facebook for a bit and actually get out and get some real social interaction. That's my best advice.
I want to thank Jason Harvey for coming over to my apartment, sitting down, chatting with me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that conversation I had with him. I had a really great time getting to know him a little bit better. Make sure to follow him on Twitter and Facebook. Those links will be on the show notes at iamsaltlake.com/139. Get in touch with him. Let him know you heard him on the podcast. Next time he's doing some comedy here in Salt Lake, well, actually at any of the events that he talked about in this conversation, go check him out and support him, support any of the local stand-up comics, support the art scene, support the music scene. So much awesomeness here in Salt Lake City. I'm trying to keep you guys up to date, but I can only do so much, guys. So thanks for your support of the podcast. Again, I want to thank Peach Treats and Urban Lounge for their support of the podcast and sponsoring this episode. Again, I'm going to be playing the Heartless Breaker song here in just a few seconds. The name of the track I'm going to be playing is Bitter Melodies. It's a great acoustic track. Heartless Breakers is going to be playing at Crucial Fest 4. You can find all the complete lineup for all the bands at crucialfest.com. Go check them out. Go check out Exigent Records. Go back and listen to episode 67 as I had Jerem on the podcast talking about Crucial Fest 3. You can find out a little bit about that event. Really great time. It's going to be going on this year. Again, that's June 4th through 7th here in Salt Lake City. Go to crucialfest.com, buy your wristbands, go to all the shows, find out all about that event. And if you have any questions about Crucial Fest, you can contact them right there from the website. Drop me an email if you have any questions. I Am Salt Lake Podcast is actually helping sponsor this event, so I'm really happy to be part of Crucial Fest 4. I tell you guys time and time again to leave reviews in iTunes, as it helps boost our ratings. It helps make the podcast more visible to more people. I'm here every week. I do this show for free, so helping get the word out is very much appreciated. And something as simple as leaving a review in iTunes helps boost the visibility. And Movie Chris actually just left a review in iTunes. I wanted to read that here really quickly. Thanks so much, Movie Chris, for leaving this review in iTunes. He wrote, "Best local and independent podcast on iTunes." He gives it 5 stars. He writes, "This is a great podcast for anyone who lives in Salt Lake, visits, or has never been. You really get to hear all the great talent that SLC has to offer, as well as getting to know the local talent when Chris Hollifield interviews them. There's a wide variety of talent from independent filmmakers, local musicians, and local stand-up comedians. If you love to hear someone's story and what inspired them to pursue what they do, this is the podcast to listen to. I hit subscribe after listening for the first time and have enjoyed it since." Thank you so much, Movie Chris, for that review. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much for the kind words. Glad you're enjoying the podcast. Again, follow me on Twitter. You can just search for I Am Salt Lake. Follow me on Facebook, I Am Salt Lake. That way I can keep you guys up to date on everything and anything going on here in Salt Lake City. If you want to support the podcast, you can actually become a Patreon of support. Many thanks to Richard Tyler Epperson for being a Patreon of support. You can find out more about this by going to iamsaltlake.com/Pat. You too can help support the podcast and help keep it moving forward. Hey, listen, this upcoming Saturday, April 12th, if you're listening to this before April 12th, come check me out. I'm going to be part of a social media marketing panel. It's going on at the Post Theater at 245 South Fort Douglas Boulevard here in Salt Lake City. It's part of the Salt Lake Comedy Festival. You can find out more about this. Go to saltlakecomedyfestival.com, hit the classes tab up top, go to social media marketing. That's from 1 to 2:15. Again, at the Post Theater. And then after that's all done, I'm going to zip down, meet me at the Gallivan Center Plaza, the stage area, as we do the first Insta-Walk, the downtown Salt Lake City Insta-Walk. It's the first of many Insta-Walk photo walks that I'm going to be hosting here in Salt Lake City this upcoming summer. We're going to be meeting April 12th, 3 p.m., Gallivan Center Plaza near the stage. We're going to be exploring downtown Salt Lake City. It's a great way to find out more about the city, find some cool spots, meet some cool individuals. This is a free event. Again, you can find out more information by going to iamsaltlake.com/instawalk. So if you have any questions about that, drop me an email, call up the voicemail, or text me at 385-202-5926. It's going to do it for this episode. Again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your emails, for your love, for your tweets. This is Heartless Breakers, Bitter Melodies. It's an acoustic version, a great band. They're going to be playing Crucial Fest 4. Heartless Breakers. Love these guys. Thanks for listening to the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Run straight to the wall, caressing with my palm so madly, scratching at the surface, bleeding through this concrete. No, be free, told to be as happy as I seem. We'll be alright and overcome, you'll see. Let's drink away our broken dreams, then I'll stop complaining. We'll be just fine. Route maps for better means, and drink away our broken dreams until we stop complaining. Come love, come sacrifice, come lonely floors in crowds of one-track minds. Bring it on, yeah, bring it on. Shout well and you yell all about the cluttered stories I don't want to tell. No, I don't want to tell. We'll be alright and overcome, you'll see. Let's drink away our broken dreams, and then I'll stop complaining. We'll be just fine. Route maps for better means, and drink away our broken dreams until we stop complaining. Shoot for the stars, rip the outer limits, bring out the sun to shine through the ozone that has been deprived. Looking at the sky, finding distant stars, carefully aligned. Inventiveness buried in our minds, destined to have our time. We'll be alright and overcome, you'll see. Let's drink away our broken dreams, and then I'll stop complaining. We'll be just fine. Route maps for better means, and drink away our broken dreams until we stop complaining.